This is Flat Out Agility, an Australian agility podcast. I'm Grace. Welcome to the first episode of this new agility podcast. I'll start by saying I'm not a professional dog person. I'm a dog enthusiast. I'm a regular person who's been obsessed with dogs all my life, and now that I'm an adult, I dedicate all my free time to dog training and dog sports. I decided to start this podcast because I recognised there was a real lack in Australian content about dog agility, which is my main passion. I was particularly inspired by the podcast Before the Cue, which is an American show started recently, not by a professional handler or a coach or a world-level competitor, but by a regular handler. I'm an agility handler, and I live in Darwin, Northern Territory. I also manage the agility coaching at my local training club, mostly just because there isn't anyone else to do it. With this podcast, I aim to talk from an Australian perspective on agility, and I hope in future I can have other voices through guests with more experience and knowledge than me. For this episode, I decided to start with my agility journey. My first sport dog was my Skipperkey Luca, who I did not get with dog sports in mind at all. I got him 10 years ago. He was my first dog as an adult. But I did get him knowing that I wanted to get into dog training generally, and I started by reading The Other End of the Leash by Patricia McConnell before he arrived. Among other things, I took a beginner's agility class when he was young, but he didn't enjoy the sport. His food motivation has always been high, but he didn't like doing the obstacles or being in the busy training environment. Luca is reactive with other dogs, and with my inexperienced training at the time, I couldn't effectively work through his lack of motivation as well as his discomfort with other dogs. I tried to do agility classes with him a few more times when he was a bit older, but with much the same results. I really admire people with Spitzes that get to a trialing level because I wasn't able to. Luca has taught me a lot. He taught me to find joy in small things. He taught me to give every experience a chance and to assume things will go well until proven otherwise. And if they don't go well, he taught me to shake it off and move on. He taught me to see things from a dog's point of view, to accept dogs for who they are, and to make choices that are best for them. But by this time, I knew I actually really wanted to do agility, so I started planning for another dog. My second dog is Marceline, a Papillon. Before she arrived, I did a lot of research about agility training. I watched Sylvia Turkman videos, I read a lot of clean run articles, and I also read the books Agility Right from the Start by Emily Johnson-Vey and Eva Bertelsen, From the Ground Up by Kim Collins, and Agility for Starters by Connie Sellers. I started foundations with Marceline right away, focusing on reinforcement markers and relationship building. When she was around a year old, I started training her on equipment and working towards real agility skills. She really excelled with agility skills, but I had to put a lot of effort into engagement and motivation for longer sequences. I eventually started using a lotus ball, which made a huge difference here. Everything was looking pretty good with us as a team until we started trialing. I definitely started trialing too early. Marcy performed well at her first 2 trials, but immediately after that, every trial became worse than the last. So over the next 3 years, I reconfigured all my training and enrichment to try to improve the situation. Unfortunately, nothing I tried worked for us. The journey to improve Marcy's trial behavior did make me learn a lot more about dog training than ever before. I took lots of classes, I asked lots of people's advice, and I implemented a lot of changes that ultimately I think were good for her. I think it's possible that another trainer could probably see success with Marcy. I mean, she has great agility skills and she has some drive, but for me, it ended up just being demoralizing. And I started to feel like I was pushing my dog to do something that she was telling me she didn't want to do. She was happy to train with reinforcement like readily available, but every time it was a trial environment, she checked out. It wasn't just that it was demoralizing to be seeing no improvement or success. This period of time is when I became president of my club and I took over the agility coaching, as I said before, because there wasn't really anyone else to do it and I didn't want to see the club fall apart. But I started to feel a lot of pressure to prove myself as a trainer and a trialer. So it was really hard to be in that position with Marcy and to not be able to find anything that made things better. This experience did teach me a lot. Marcy taught me patience. She taught me to seek different approaches when something isn't working. She taught me to listen to my small feelings, not just my loudest feelings. She taught me to celebrate small victories, to think creatively, and to find the fun. I still use Marcy as my demo dog for coaching, and I'm still pursuing tricks and scent work with her for sport, but I have decided to stop training or trialing Marceline in agility. But I was still faced with the same problem. I wanted to do agility really badly, and now I was the agility coach for my club, and I didn't have a dog that I could get to a trialing level. So to be honest, I rushed into my third dog. I decided to go for a dog that was more likely to want to participate in dog sports. So I got a Border Collie Papillon mix, sometimes also called a Border Pap. I have a size limit where I live, so the dog had to be under 10 kilos. Her name is Topaz, and she is now 2.5 years old. Topaz's first year was rough. I found her adolescence really challenging. I started her on agility foundations right away, but I had to put most of it aside and spend a huge chunk of time working on her life skills and focusing on enrichment before she was able to cope with training sport skills in a sport environment. But I could see glimmers that she was going to be an awesome agility dog. So I persevered and I kept building her skills and her capacity. And by the time she was 20 months old at the start of this year, I felt confident enough to test her skills in a trial environment, and she blew me away. For Topaz, ringside skills are much, much harder than agility skills, and I'd been working really hard on building them into our training. Topaz handled the judge in the field, the waiting, and the standing ringside better than I expected, which made me feel much more confident going forward. This year, I entered her in 6 of our local trials, and she's so far achieved 7 qualifications in agility, jumping, and games. I have to admit that it has been a bit of a relief for me because I've finally been able to prove that I can successfully trial a dog to a qualification level. It's also been completely exhilarating to run with a dog that I know is entirely there with me, entirely on board with the game, and thrilled to run every single time. I value so much that connection with Topaz and the confidence I have in her engagement and skills. It's important to me to protect her enthusiasm for the game. Topaz has taught me to have faith in my abilities, to focus on the now, and to play lots of tug. I really love this sport. To get the feeling of flow in a run is like a high for me. It's the most fun activity I've ever done. I love my dogs and I respect them for who they are and what they like to do. And I'm very fortunate to have one dog that loves this game as much as me. I've never done anything I like this much, so I'm thankful for every single run. So that's my agility journey and the experiences that have made me who I am in the sport. But why did I decide to make a podcast? As I said at the top of the episode, I recognised a lack in Australian content about dog sports and agility specifically, and I was looking to fill that gap. There's also aspects of agility that I feel don't get discussed all that much that I would like to explore. This podcast isn't going to be a play-by-play of how to get into agility, how to train for it, and things like that. Again, I'm not a professional trainer. I'm going to focus a bit more on concepts, the philosophical side of the sport, the community, the human-dog connection, and the unique aspects of doing agility in Australia compared to elsewhere. Now, I work as a video editor professionally, and I'm very adept at being efficient with information, so I fear these episodes will not be the 30+ minutes that may be the norm, unless in future I have someone else to riff with. But if you're open to more bite-sized content, I hope you will stick around to hear more. This has been Flat Out Agility. Be kind to dogs.